Welcome back to the Paddle and Fin Podcast Network. We're brought to you by Yak Gadget. For all your kayak fishing accessory needs, go to yakgadget.com. Pelican cases, coolers, and lighting. Go to pelican.com. The 153 Bait Company. For all your hard and soft bait needs, go to the153anglers.com. Now let's get this show started.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Bass Thumbs Fishing Podcast, where we are constantly trying to keep our thumbs ripped up. Man, it is 2022 now, and we have an incredible show tonight with Mr. Matty Wong, Elite Bassmasters Series Pro, and I'm just really excited about it. But before we get into that with Matty and talk a little bit about his success this year, I just want to say I hope everyone had a great holiday season. I hope you guys all stayed safe out there. A lot of people getting sick. I'm a little sick right now, to be honest, but I just hope everyone's just staying safe. And I hope you guys had a good New Year's. And 2021 is now behind us, and we are now in 2022. Can't even believe I'm really saying that right now. It sounds weird, 2022, but a lot of us are looking forward to this year. And man, I got my new kayak in the shop. I got the Bonafide P127 getting rigged out right now over at Kayak Fish Supplies in San Diego. Gonna have a lot of cool accessories on that thing. It's gonna almost look like a really expensive bass boat, but it's gonna be a plastic boat, and it's not gonna have an outboard, but it's gonna have almost everything else you can imagine on it. So gonna be going 2 graphs this year, along with the active target, and then the Motor Guide XI3 on the front. And man, Carrie's just doing a phenomenal job over there at Kayak Fish Supplies in San Diego. So I'm just stoked to get that thing out on the water. And huge shout out to Bonafide Kayaks for that new P127. I'm really excited to fish from that platform this year. And let's see. Also, we got the ABA Kayak Series. They opened their registration for the Lake Paris event. Lake Paris is going to be happening February 12th and 13th. It's going to be a $250 buy-in, a 2-day event, awesome payouts. We got some guys coming from up north. We got guys coming from Arizona. So we're really, really excited to roll out that ABA kayak series this year. So if you guys are interested in registering for that, you guys could reach out to their Instagram at American Bass Kayak Series, or you can hit me up on my personal Instagram at Bass Thumbs Fishing. So just kind of give you guys a little intro to the new year, some cool things happening, but I am really, really excited to talk to Matty tonight. He had a dream year last year, and I can't wait to hear how everything kind of unfolded and then his plans for 2022. I know that he doesn't fish from a kayak, but I figured he literally has kind of just rolled out this dream year. And you know, for an average angler to all of a sudden becoming a Bassmasters Elite Series Pro, I can't even fathom, and I can't wait to hear the story behind it. So I know that this is going to be an exciting show, whether he's even though he's not a kayak angler, but he's a lot more than that. He's a great dude. So let's just go ahead and bring him in.
Hey,
what's going on, Matty?
What's up, man?
Dude, I'm excited for this year, and I can't imagine the excitement that you have for this year as well, dude. So first, before we get started, because we're gonna really dive into it, but before we get started, Matty, go ahead and maybe just tell our listeners, like a little bit about yourself. It's interesting, when I called you on the phone, it said Honolulu, Hawaii. So I'm sure everyone kind of already knows that about yourself, but go ahead and tell everyone where you're from, man, and maybe just a little bit about how you fell in love with the sport of bass fishing.
Yeah, for sure. Well, my name is Matty Wong. I'm from Oahu, Hawaii. I grew up in Honolulu, which is the city. I grew up in Palolo Valley, which is the valley I grew up in. Lake Wilson is my home lake. And it's funny that you say, that I'm not a kayak angler, because I don't currently have a kayak, but like I fished from all different vessels throughout my whole life, whether it was, I had a Scupper Pro that I used to free dive off of, and I used to fish off of it. and I used to, from bass fishing in Hawaii, from smallmouth fishing in the streams to peacock bass in the lake, all the way to catching giant trevally off the shore, and then surf casting for numerous different species. Like I've just been addicted to fishing my whole life.
That's awesome, dude.
And
how old are you?
I'm 33.
33. All right, I'm 31, so
I'm
above 30 now. So
yeah, dude, welcome to the third level, man. The view just keeps getting better, That's what I hear.
Yeah.
Until your back starts to hurt.
That's really cool, dude. And one thing I know that we kind of connected on social media last year a little bit, kind of talked a little bit back and forth, and I know we kind of almost crossed paths literally up at Kachuma.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, we were up there for our TOC last year, and you were out there, but for some reason we just never really crossed like physical paths. But I think we were out in the water the same day, so I can officially say that I've been on the water with the Bassmaster Elite Series Pro. I've been on the same body of water.
Man, that's great, man. I remember that. Oh, sorry. I remember that that tournament. And I remember seeing all the kayak guys, and I think like Rachel Ribe, she ended up, I think she got, did she win it? Or she got close?
She was leading after day one.
Yeah.
And then day two, I think she ended up taking third or fourth. I can't remember, but she did really well. Yeah.
I love how the whole kayak scene has flourished into what it is now. And when people are like, "Oh, I'm a bass boat dude," or like, "I'm a kayak dude," and it's like, no, bro, we're all bass fishermen.
Yeah, no, for sure.
At the end of it, like, I don't care if it's a stand-up paddleboard. I'm still gonna take a rod and try and like paddle out and catch a fish if I don't have anything else. And
no
I
doubt.
wish, I truly wish that, if I didn't get, the way I got my boat, my old boat, was kind of like a special situation or circumstance. And if it wasn't for that, I probably would have had a kayak, to be honest, just because of how accessible it is, how much more affordable it is. And I feel like on a kayak, you're able to be so much more stealth versus a bass boat when it comes to, fishing shallow water and being able to slip into like some really skinny water and be completely like undetected.
No doubt.
So I don't like to, I don't know. I think that I know for sure there's a couple like, bass dudes, like what are it's like, the Tupperware Pro's coming out today or whatever. And then like, I don't know what the kayak guys say about the bass boat dudes, but I just love fishing, and I love bass fishing. I love the sport of it, and I love the community and the fact that, there's even a couple of guys that were fishing the ABA that reached out to me too, and we're like, "Yo, dude, we're also fishing the ABA in Kachuma. I saw that you were out there," and so I just love how connected everyone in the bass community is, and especially on the West Coast, because we got some special things going on out here. And like, not only do we have like good sized fish, but we have some really, really tough fisheries. And everyone like generalizes California. It's like, "Oh, this is where you can go catch a 10-pounder." It's like, it's a lot harder than it sounds, man. Like you can
no doubt
one for years and not get one.
Yeah.
And, it's one of those things that I'm stoked to be a part of the fishing community. And whether you're a kayak angler or you're an angler from a bass boat, I mean, down the line, I would love to rig out a kayak and like be able to do some of the kayak derps. Like, I think it's so rad to be able to measure a fish and like bloop, and like not have to worry about culling or like physically culling and stuff like that. I think
Matty, when you're ready, let me know and we will dial you in, dude. Like, it would be super fun to get you out there with us. I remember I tried, trying to get you out there last year, and I think it'd be really.
Oh, I think we lost Shane for a second, guys. Is he back? It's either my interwebs or your interwebs.
Are you close to your router?
Yeah, my router's. Oh, okay. Found it. You're back. I'm
back.
Okay, could have been my interwebs then.
Maybe, but let's just keep
All right.
rolling.
Yeah.
Can
Sorry
you hear
about
me
that,
now?
guys.
No,
Yeah.
it's all good. Okay. Well, kind of just getting it back into it, but so one of the cool things that I kind of want to touch on first is like I was able to fly. You see me still?
Yeah, that was you cutting out. It's weird. I can see my stream and the numbers are going flawlessly, so I don't think it's. I'd like to say it's me, but
Okay, I don't know. Let me try something really quick. Hold on.
you're good, man. You're good. You're good. And he's back.
What about now?
He's back.
Okay. I can always expect something to go wrong just because I mean I have like the highest, I have like the highest internet and everything, but technology, you can't really do stuff about it sometimes. So,
This
but
is
can you
true.
hear me now? Sorry,
Yeah, I can hear
guys.
you. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
All good.
Well, one thing that I was saying is like I was able to go out to Hawaii and actually catch a peacock bass, and I know that Lake
Oh,
Wilson, yeah, exit eight bass fishing. I went out with him as a guide.
Oh, cool.
I think his name was Paul, I believe,
Mhm.
and I went out and caught a peacock bass, dude, which was a bucket list thing for me. So that was a
Sick.
lot of fun on an A rig too, not no shiner, and on an A rig.
On an A rig. Yeah, that's something,
Yep.
in the past like 5 years, that's become like a popular bait there.
Yeah.
Before then, it just wasn't a thing. Same thing with like swim baits. Like I told my buddy Kevin who fishes there, and I'm like, "Yo, dude, throw a glide bait." And he's like, "What?" I'm like, "Throw it, because if you don't, like, I'm gonna come home and start throwing it." And he starts jacking them up
Really?
on it. Yeah, they eat the glide. And then I think there was a 5-pound largemouth, which is a giant for Lake Wilson. That is a giant. My largest bass, like my largest, I want to say largemouth bass out of Hawaii, is like shy of 3 pounds.
Wow.
But I have peacock bass over 7 pounds.
That's sick.
And I have smallmouth. I almost caught the record smallmouth when I was 14. It was 4.25.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
I missed it by 1/8 of an ounce.
No way, dude.
I was so bummed.
I didn't even know they had smallmouth in there.
Yeah, dude. Not in Lake Wilson. So in the way back, if you go to the very, very back of the streams, you can find them in the back. A couple of guys have actually caught them in the reservoir a couple of times, but there's a couple other little local streams that you actually go and hike through the wilderness, and dude, it's fun, man. Like you hike down a couple big valleys and get down to the valley floor, and it's just beautiful. There's a couple they can be skinny at times when they'll open up to like slightly larger ponds, but you're just flipping like whether it's like a dark sleeper or like a little like hula grub or like a single tail grub or anything like that, and it's just, dude, so much fun. Like, and like the smallest little pocket, you're like, oh, there should be one there. But they're not. Mostly like they're all like 12.
Those peacocks though, bro, they fight good, dude.
Oh,
like
dude.
I was stoked on it, dude. They smashed that A rig, and I probably caught like I don't know, it was probably close to 3 pounds, I think 3.5 pounds, something like that.
It looked like a good one.
Yeah, and it fought good, and I was stoked on it. So bucket list thing for me for sure.
That's sick. So you got them on the A rig.
On an A rig.
What else did you guys fish?
I just threw the A rig the whole day, bro. I caught like 6. I think I caught like 6 of them. That was my biggest one that I kind of took the picture of and stuff. But
nice.
Yeah, the guy Paul that was guiding me, he was like, dude, just throw the A rig, man. Like that's gonna catch big ones, it's gonna catch numbers, and I like throwing the A rig. That's like I got a lot of confidence in it last year, and I'm good friends with Jason Borofka too, and he owns G-Funk Baits.
Oh, sick.
And so the A rig for me is something that I tend to pick up quite a bit, especially when the time's right. You can kind of throw it all year, but it's a little better at certain parts of the year, obviously. So
for sure.
Yeah.
That's rad. Wait, is there did you have 5 hooks on it in Hawaii?
You have 3.
Okay. Yeah. See, I don't even. I'm like, I don't know.
This is public, so 3 hooks.
Yeah. Three
Three
hooks.
three hooks is legal in Hawaii.
Okay.
From what they said. So
All right. Because so when we're in the ocean, we can use damashi, which is sabiki rigs that have like 5-6 hooks on it.
yeah. In California is 3 too.
3. Yeah.
You know. Yeah.
I don't get to fish the A rig as much because bass, it's illegal to use the A rig.
Oh yeah, no, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so that's why I don't really
like completely across the board, even in the nations.
Yep.
Oh really?
Yeah. So I if you look, actually your emblem blocking it, but I have actually a couple G Funks. I got maybe 3 or 4 A rigs in my all of my whole arsenal, and I've caught a couple doubles. Actually, a Kachuma, they eat it pretty good there.
Dude, I love Kachuma, bro.
Dude, that place is special.
A lot of people kind of talked a little bit about it, like they're kind of like how tough it is and stuff. And dude, we caught so much fish there.
Dude, this year, stupid. I got lucky, man. This was my first year fishing it. Oh wait, no, maybe when did it reopen? 2020 or 2021?
Dude, that was my first time there. So
oh really?
I don't even know. Yeah, that was my first time, dude.
Yeah,
I got offshore on those rock piles on Google Earth, and I just dude, they just smashed the jig there, dude.
Oh, dude, you can lay waste to them on a jig.
Yeah.
Stupid, man.
Yeah.
It's so dumb. Yeah, that place is really, really special.
And I'm a sucker for a jig bite, dude. Like once I get on a jig bite, I don't even care honestly how big they are.
No.
And then I saw your YouTube video catching that. I think it was like a 7 or 8 pounder there on a jig, and I was like, well, that's all I needed to see.
You're like, I'm throwing a jig the whole time. Yeah,
it's not very often down here in SoCal where we can really. I mean, there are times, but like that good of a jig bite's kind of hard to come by down in our parts.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, like Lopez and like Margarita is pretty good with a jig, but like Kachuma, oh my gosh, dude, it's like a place that you can go and like you can get a jig bait like
Kachu jig. They should call it Kachu jig.
Kachu jigs year round. Seriously,
they for sure Kachu jigs.
Yeah, dude, that place is special for sure.
Yeah. Hey, what are those? Really quick, we're kind of getting on a tangent, but I don't. Whatever.
Oh, good, dude.
We're talking about fishing. So, what are those boxes on the shore at Kachuma?
Oh,
you know what I'm talking about? When the water's down, you can see all those tiny little boxes all over the place. Are those like little like crawdad habitat things or what?
Oh yeah. So those are crates. Those are all milk crates.
Yeah.
So that's just they dump them in.
Or just habitat.
Just crate habitat. Yeah.
So not crawdad habitat, just habitat.
No, just I think habitat in general. But
okay.
I mean, obviously they're great little crawdad huts.
Yeah.
Yeah, that place is cool, man.
Yeah, it was so fun, dude. On my practice day, I caught dude, I probably had like a 20-pound bag on my practice.
You told me you whacked them. I'm like, wait, what? I'm like,
dude, it was just like out of nowhere. It just like happened my first day. Like my first fish in the morning, my first fish ever at Kachuma was like a 4.5 pounder and a popper.
Giant.
Like I saw him boiling, and I was like popper, and then like just smashed it.
You said that? I was like, dude, are you serious? Because I went in the morning, I threw a popper. I'm like, I can't get crap, and then I get smoked, and it's like a 1/4 pound fish. And I'm like,
dude,
you got lucky because a 4 pound. I mean, I'm sure you know now, like a 4 pounder on Kachuma.
Yeah,
that's a rare one,
dude. And then I caught another 4 pounder on a frog, and then like a 3 pounder on a freaking frog, and then I caught a couple like other 3 pounders on. Dude, it was just like my practice day was just, and I wasn't even I wasn't like trying to like dial in anything. It's just like, oh, there's grass over here. Let me throw the frog and see if they blow up at it. 4 pounder, like, and I'm the kind of guy too, honestly, especially, I don't know if I would really do it like if I was going to your level as far as like the elites and like practicing, probably a completely different way. But like when I'm out there on my kayak, and this is just a hobby for me, and I'm just having a blast. Like if a fish blows up on my frog, I'm smashing that fish, bro.
Dude, like that fish is getting smoked.
Yeah,
game day or not.
Yeah, no doubt, dude. Because some people have like different things about practice and stuff, but
yeah,
I definitely wasn't trying to dial in anything. It was just like, oh, grass, frog. Oh, blow up.
4 pounder. Oh,
yeah.
Dude, that's super hard not to swing on a frogfish. You watch them smoke it, you're like,
I know.
Okay, God, no.
Okay, so let's kind of reel it back in because we're already like 20 minutes in.
You're good.
And we'll just kind of cap it at like maybe 45, 50. So let's try to get into, bro. Honestly, like I said, I know, you know, we follow each other on Instagram, and I follow you on Instagram, and like, dude, just one day, bro, just out of nowhere, your bio says Bassmaster Elite Series Pro. Like, how sick is that, dude? Like, let's really dive into that, and let's talk about your, dude. Like, you go from the nations. Kind of explain this just like kind of a short thing, and then we'll get into the actual next year. But like, getting to Havasu, talk about the process of how you just became an Elite Series Pro.
Yeah. Well, it all started from the Bass Nation. So from, you know, joining the club, which is Ventura County Bass Club, which is an affiliated club with Bass Nation.
Right.
Paid my dues with them, makes me a Bass Nation member. And I fished 2019 as a co and got my ass handed to me from the back of the boat. And because I was practicing, like I've been fishing from the front of my boat for the past like 5 or 6 years, like Delta and doing a bunch of stuff and like putting a lot of time in. And it was like a whole different thing. And so I said, you know what, screw it. I'm going to fish it from the front of my boat. I feel like I can make the right decisions. My first tournament was at Pine Flat. And for you guys that don't know, it's a spotted bass fishery with some largemouth in there. And I ended up sticking an 8-pounder on the first day, and on a swim bait. and so I ended up placing second. It was a 2-day tournament. I placed second out of like 24 guys or something like that. And like for the first time, like the guys that I looked up to like in the club were like, "Hey man, what's your name?" And I'm like, "I fished it with you guys all last year." And like, I get it. There's like, I'm sure they have a lot of guys that come and go and everything like that, but it's, you know, it feels good. It's validating when they're like, "Yo, dude, good job." And I'm like, man, this is like my first time really like cashing a check. You know, like I've done like ABA like deals, but for me to do an away tournament to a place I've never been to, and to do that was really special. Because the previous year that I fished Pine Flat was from the back of the boat, and I came second to last. And so
full circle,
you know. And so that was really cool. And then we had one other event at Nasi Meno, which was my first time to Nasi, second time to Nasi Meno, but first time there with my own boat. My boat breaks down in practice. Jarrett Littner's brother is a boat mechanic, worked on my boat like literally the day before day one. And so I got to like salvage my whole tournament, and I was able to still end up being able to fish this 2-day derb. I think I ended up getting 4th overall, cash another check. And that was enough for the points because because of COVID, the season got cut short. We were supposed to fish 5 qualifiers, and instead of 5, we did 3. And so it was your best 2 that would qualify you for the team.
And was this in 2021?
This was in 2020. So you qualified 2020 for the next year, right?
Okay.
So 2020, and then I was gonna fish. Basically, this is like middle of COVID right now.
Yeah.
I don't have a job. I'm collecting unemployment for the first time in my life. Hollywood is shut down. I'm living in Culver City with like crackheads running all over the place and like people getting shot left and right. And like, it was a mess, dude. It was a complete mess. And they're like, "Are you going to come up and fish for like the AOY, like at Clear Lake?" And I'm like, "Dude, I can't afford to go to Clear Lake to like cash like a $200 check if I already made the team." Like my whole goal was to make the team and to make it to national or to regionals. I mean, and like baby steps, you know, obviously I wanted to make it to nationals, but like, I just wanted to make it to Havasu because I knew it was going to be, the regionals were going to be at Havasu. So I was like, "You made the team." And I'm like, "Cool. I won't see you at Clear Lake, but I really want to be there." And they're like,
yeah.
And so I was right there in the points. Like if I would have went there and placed top like 5 or something like that, I would have won AOY. But I didn't go. Went to Havasu.
Good choice.
Right. I ended up like, I went through a breakup at this time. So it was like, went through a breakup. I was like, moving out of Los Angeles because I'm done with Los Angeles, like LA. Like I've been there for 8.5 years almost, and I was like, I'm out. It's crazy because I was like, okay, I'm gonna move up to Ventura where I can get closer to better surf. I can get closer to the fisheries that I want to fish, like Kajuma, Casitas, and just put more time in on the water, and still like commute into town when I needed to. And so when I went up and fished Havasu, it was a really tough bite. Everyone was struggling, and I got on the rip bait bite in Havasu, and people were throwing it, but they didn't key in and on this certain. I found like this little thing, and like the first one that I got, I was like, oh, that's a good one, and I was like, oh, that's a real good one, and then I like went around, like, okay, I'm gonna try and duplicate it again, and like, boom, stuck another one. I'm like, that's another 4. I'm like, oh boy, okay, I got something. And like my buddy that's practicing with me, he's like, what drip bait is that, bro? I'm like, don't worry about it. And so like, and one of the guys, like one of the Wells brothers, they're absolute hammers. He's like, yeah, I got like 18 pounds today. And I'm like, you got 18 pounds? Like, he's like, yeah, like, I mean, I shook a couple of them, but yeah, I basically got 18 pounds. I'm like each day I was going out and like landing 2 fish, but I was also like, okay, let me check this one spot. Okay, I'm out. Okay, and then let me like dial in the color. Okay.
There's always those guys at practice.
Oh,
always.
For sure.
20 pounders for 20-pound bags every time.
20-pound bags, smoking 4-pounders in the grass.
For us, it's like 90 inches. Yeah, I caught 90 inches.
Yeah, 90 inches. I'm like, Are you kidding, Shane? Like, are you serious? Like, dude, that's a sack for that like. But so basically, I was in like full like save money mode. I had prepped a whole like pot of curry for the whole week. I made like Japanese curry, and I was like, okay, this is all I'm gonna eat. I made my rice, I made my curry. I'm like, I'm good. And so the guys were like, bro, you don't even want to come out and eat with us? And so I'm like, nah, dude, I gotta save money. Sorry. They're like, he's on them, isn't he? I literally just stayed in my room, made dinner, and just passed out. And so day one, I found a fish, and this was the fun part. And one of my favorite parts of the story is I found a fish in practice that was holding to this one area. And I can tell that she wasn't like on a bed, but you can tell that she was getting ready to bed. And just kind of
what time of year was this? Sorry.
February.
Okay.
Yeah.
2021 February.
This is 2021 February.
Got it.
And I pitched my glide up there, and I'm like, floop. And this freaking giant comes out. I'm like, oh god! And I'm like, ah! Like literally like have to rip my bait away from her because she was so angry. She wanted my glide so bad. And I'm like, 12:30? See you tomorrow. I left. Went and like checked out a couple more spots, found an 8-pounder, and I was like, ooh, you're gonna be a good one too. Okay, let me. So I left. Day one of the tournament. My first spot I rolled to, 4th cast, stick of 4. Has one hook in her nose. Scoop her, put her in the boat. I'm like, yeah! Because guys were like struggling to catch like 2 fish the whole day, you know? So I'm like, boom, one in the box. Go to my next spot. Took, boom, another 3-pounder. Go to the next spot. Boom, another 4-pounder. I'm like, okay, good. I got 3 fish in the box before 11 o'clock. I'm stoked.
Yeah.
And so I went in. It was about 12:35. I'm like, time to go check in on my honey. And like, I told my co, and I'm like, yo, bro, keep your vest on. I'm gonna literally take 2 casts in here, and then we're out. He's like, whatever, man. I'm like, okay. It's like we roll up, we like get in this little pocket, and I go all the way. My first cast, I flip up there with the glide, and I'm like, click, click, and then this other bass comes out, and I'm like, oh, that's not her. I'm like, that's not her. Where'd she go?
Oh,
and then
no.
I reel it in, cast in there again, and I like just let it sit. And then sure enough, dude, she just out of nowhere, I just saw this dark blob come up underneath it, just like boom, smoke. I'm like, oh my god, I got her! And my drag slips, and I'm like, oh look, and I crank boat flipper in the boat.
Oh my god!
My coach like, dude, are you serious? I'm like, we're out.
How much does she weigh?
She was like 4.5.
Ooh.
And then I went. I was like, okay, I got 4 in the box. All right, I got this one other spot that I found some fish on, and go out there and I stick another one just shy of 3, flip her in. I'm like, okay, now I'm just gonna go pre-fish. Like I'm just gonna go practice. I caught a limit. My goal was to catch a limit, obviously. Did I think it was going to go down that way? No. Like I thought I was going to like at least have 3 fish, but the fact that I had a limit and like a decent one at that, I was like, I'm going to go pre-fish. And I just fished the big bait all day. And I called another bass on my glide.
Wow.
And I came in with, I think it was 18 something for day one.
Wow.
And all of them, except for one, were all smallmouth, I think. And so they're like, hey, like after I was like, probably like there's 10 guys to weigh in. I weighed in and they're like, dude, you're leading the whole event. And I'm like, wait, what'd you say? Like I thought like for like 87 boats, and like guys like just, sticks that have fished Havasu for a really long time.
Yeah.
And so my heart was just, pounding. I didn't think. I was like, oh my God, there's no way.
I can almost feel exactly what you're feeling. Cause like every time I think of Havasu, I just see all these guys that like fished all the time. And it's so big. And I'm just like, okay.
It's overwhelming.
Yeah. I don't really want to go.
It's an amazing place. And I love it so much because it's like the Delta and Clear Lake combined.
Wow.
And it's so crazy.
But I know what you're saying. I know what you're feeling. Yeah.
It was nuts, and that felt like a huge accomplishment for me because one, I made the cover of the website, Bassmaster website, and they interviewed me, and like a bunch of people started reaching out to me, like, "Bro, good job," and I'm like,
"Yeah."
And that was my first time leading a big tournament going into this like the second day, and which day 2 got canceled, and so we went automatically to the final day, and the whole field got to fish again, and so I'm like, "Oh my God, I got to catch them again," and I try to duplicate the same thing, but because the off day, the winds blew, and it blew all my fish off. It basically
sounds about right for
right. Yeah, about standard where you have everything set up and then like the wind blows one day and all your bite's gone.
That's why I love multi-day tournaments. Honestly, I mean, I love hate them, but
well, it evens the playing field because you really have to be you have to be flexible and you have to be able to move with it. And I was honestly limited with my electronics because I feel like if I were to have like live scope or something like that, I could have been like, oh, you moved out another 15 feet. Which I ended up finding that out and figuring that out. But I'm like,
oh, there you are.
Yeah, but it was too late already, And so I had 2 fish in the box. And it was like 2:30. And like weigh-ins were at 3. And I'm like, well, I had a good run. That was fun, And well, like the nearest guy.
You weighed in 2 fish on day 2, on day 3, I guess.
Day 3, no. So I was like, I'm gonna go swing for it. I had this one little stretch that I usually catch. I can call my shot most of the time when I'm on Havasu, and I stuck another it was close to a 4-pounder, with 30 minutes to go, and so
3 fish.
I ended up weighing 9 pounds for three bass, and that kept me with my day 1 bag because the gap was so substantial from everyone else, except for the guy Taylor Smith, who's like a buddy of mine now, up in Idaho. He was the one who was like, he weighed 17 something. I had 18, and he went back to the river again, and I didn't have the range to make that with my bass boat. And he went back to the river and caught like 16 and a half again. I'm like, you sucker. And like, so he ended up beating me. But I dropped down 2 spots. I ended up getting 3rd overall. And then I won for California. And, that was insane, that was, for me, and that's that one right there.
Yeah.
That one was special, because that was like my first big tournament, and I got a top 3, and cashed a check and made it to nationals. And so
just so I can understand this, in Havasu, you had multiple states, right?
Yeah.
Represented there.
Yeah.
So how many, because you took 3rd out of like the California guys, you won it, or how did you go to the nationals?
Yeah, so the way that it works in Bass Nation is when you go to the regionals, all you have to do is win it for your team.
Okay.
So
how many guys were in your team?
There's 10 non-boaters and 10 boaters. And so for me, I was just fishing against 10 other boaters.
Got it. Yeah.
Technically, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like on the spot to go to the nationals.
Got it.
Let's say everyone bombs, but I still I finished 20th place, but everyone else it doesn't matter. Like as long as you beat the rest of your team, you still get a ticket to go to the nationals.
Got it.
So there was Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, Washington, Oregon, New Mexico, Arizona, and I think one other. So there was a lot of different states.
A boater and one non-boater. Both of you go to the nationals.
Yes.
From each state.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's how it worked. And which was nuts because obviously you're going up against the local guys in Arizona.
Yeah.
And you're like, this is your home body, and Havasu is such a place where if you really know the spots,
sure.
it's like a game changer.
Yeah.
But yeah, I ended up.
That's. Go ahead.
No. The closest guy to me in California was I think 8 or 9 pounds away. So it was. So it was like, okay, you're going to the nationals, and I'm like,
sick.
Oh my god, what?
Okay, so now you're. Let's just kind of fast forward just a tiny bit.
So for sure.
You're on your way to the nationals,
yeah.
So when they give you that ticket, obviously it's not. So they give you that ticket, but do they help with cost or anything, or is it any type of incentives, or is it just kind of show up, and then where were you at again? I couldn't recollect where was the nationals at.
So nationals was in West Monroe, Louisiana, on the Ouachita River.
Got it.
It looks like it's spelled like Ouachita.
Yeah.
And I asked Steve Kennedy. I was like, I'm fishing this place called Ouachita. He's like, that's Ouachita, son. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Kennedy. Didn't mean to offend you.
So you show up there against. So it's the boaters and the non-boaters from all 52 states.
All 52 states. And additionally, South Africa, there was supposed to be a team from Japan and South Korea, but they, because of COVID reasons, they weren't able to come over.
So you're basically up against 50 or 52 non-boaters, or 54 non-boaters, or boaters.
Yeah.
Boaters. Yeah.
There was over 100 people competing in the thing, and it's an interesting format because the non-boaters are essentially competing against the boaters. Because
the last day they get a boat or something.
Yeah, and you get to fish. You get to fish against everyone else.
That's
for
crazy.
The title, and which has happened before, where a non-boater won the whole thing.
That's crazy.
It's insane, you know. But it's kind of that's kind of cool. It gives them a chance, and then that literally gives them a ticket because you win the whole thing. You also get the same thing. You win the whole thing. You win a boat. You go to the classic, and then you get a ticket on the elites.
Okay, so let's literally talk about Ouachita. Did they say that right?
Ouachita. Yeah.
Ouachita. Okay, so you're there in practice. How is your practice there? I watched some of your YouTube on it, and if you guys want to go check out Matty's YouTube, it's Capture Fish, right?
Yeah.
Capture Fish on YouTube, and he's putting out this whole thing that we're talking about right now. Pretty much, he's just put out day 2 of what we're talking about right now. So you guys make sure you guys go sub and go check his channel out. So.
I greatly appreciate it. I'm almost to 3,000 subs, man.
Dude, that's sick, bro.
The baby steps and the crawl, but I've been pretty dedicated to releasing a video every single Monday since I started my YouTube channel, and it's been almost 2 years now.
And bro, now you're about to make content on the Elite Series.
Oh, it still sounds crazy.
I know. Okay, so let's talk about day 1.
Okay.
Let's just go to day 1.
Day 1.
Forget practice. Let's talk about day 1.
Yeah, practice. Okay, practice in short was rough.
Okay. Yeah.
The biggest fat bass that I caught, and I was shaking them, unlike you sticking them. I like to shake.
Which I probably would have too if I was fishing for the nationals. So,
but
a little different than a kayak tournament.
That's same. But
I'm just saying. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I ended up. My biggest fish I caught during practice was 2¼ pound, and I saw I boated it, but then I was like, okay, this is tricky. I don't know how to get a big one. And then my non-boater that I was practicing with, he stuck a 3.5.
Yeah.
And I was like, you jerk, you stuck my fish. But it was, but
you were throwing a crank. You're throwing a crank, right?
I was throwing a crank
yeah.
and also a spinnerbait and also flipping. But it was everyone was throwing the same thing. Did you go to every single boat? Every single boat had a spinnerbait tied on, and every single boat had like some type of like creature bait.
Wow.
And it was, I honestly think that it was timing of like the time of day, and which I didn't find out till day one. So day one, fast forward day one, we have a cold front pushes in. So during practice, it's bluebird skies, 80 degrees, and the water's 72, I think, or something like that, like low 70s.
Yeah. And again, sounds like a typical derby. The next day,
everything's like good, and then like cold front.
Yeah.
It's 40 degrees day one, raining, and like the water temp drops like 8 or 9 degrees.
And for guys from Los Angeles, for you guys listening, 40 degrees is freezing.
It's really cold, and especially from Hawaii, that's even colder.
an LA boy from Hawaii, that's friggin' freezing.
Yeah, it's friggin' freezing, Mr. Bigglesworth. And so I ended up, my non-boater started whooping my butt. There was this older gentleman named Mark Edmonds, and he'd fished Bass Nation for 30 years, and this was his first time making it to the Nationals.
Wow.
And I was like, dude, like you're like, he had the guy, like the trophy that this is named off of is a guy named Brian Kerschel, who was a Bass Nation guy, made it to the Classic, won the Classic, and then 6 months later died in a plane accident.
Oh man.
So the trophy's named after him. And
bro,
this guy Mark,
that trophy's right behind you.
It's wild.
I'm sorry.
Okay,
keep going.
No, like, so he knew Brian Kerschel, and he's like, "Hey, you mind if Brian rides with us today?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "Here." And so he has this laminated photo of him and Brian.
No way.
And an article on him. And I'm like, he's like, "He's my good luck charm." I'm like, "Well, hopefully he brings us both good luck, man. Like, I'd love to have him." And so,
wow.
Yeah, that was a really special time. Because he had 3 fish in the boat before I even had one. I ended up, and so I started catching him a little bit. I caught 2 fish, and we were flipping a bit. He lost a good one, and I'm like, I was starting to like let all those negative things kind of get in your head. It was like 1:15, and I had 2 fish in the boat. I'm like, well, I guess I'm driving home Friday. You know, like I drove 26 hours to get my
when's lines out, or when do you weigh in?
Oh, I had to weigh in at 3:00 or something like that.
So like an hour and 45 minutes.
Yeah, hour 45. And I'm like, yeah, so this is great. Well, I'm gonna start slowly making my way back. But I'm like, you know what? No, there's still time. I just need to start doing something different. And I had caught small fish on the crank, but nothing substantial. And I picked it up again, and I started going down this bank, and it looked kind of good. And I was about to hang it up. And for the guys, like, you know, go and watch the video, because you actually see like these moments where literally just making one more cast changed the course of this whole tournament for me. Wow. And I pull up, and I'm like, all right, we're going to go make a run. I'm like literally trying to like grab the hook onto my reel to like put it away. And then my boat makes this nice little like positioning, and I see this lane, and I'm like, stick one. Oh. And it's like just shy of 3 pounds. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I get in the boat. And I'm like, I just caught the biggest fish all week.
Wow.
It's 1:30 right now. Like, oh my gosh. I'm like, okay, hey Mark, hold on. We're about to do some crazy stuff right now. And he's like, whatever, man, let's do it. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna run all new water, and we're gonna move fast. And I go to I'm heading back towards the ramp, because I'm 6 miles away from the ramp at this point. I'm like heading back towards the ramp. I see this one spot, I drive by it, I'm like, I almost have to do a U-turn, because I'm like, oh my God, that looks good. And it wasn't the stuff that looked obvious. If it looked too good, it wasn't the case, because everyone and their mom was stopping on it. It had to be a long stretch of like nothing, and then a random tree, and then a stump or two, and then nothing else. And then a bunch of trees like 50 or 60 yards like away. But it had to be it was weird for this crankbite. If it was on a corner or a bend, it wasn't the deal. It had to be like on these straightaways because people were just hammering these certain areas. I rolled up. It was like my fourth cast on this stretch that I'd never hit before, and I stuck one that was just shy of 4. And it's 2:15 at this point, and I'm like, oh my god, I got 4 fish. Like, this is crazy, you know? And and I knew it that there's still time. There's still time for me to put in a limit. And I ran to this last little stretch that I saw in practice. I never fished it. It just looked good. It was like a beautiful riprap stretch. And I pull up on it, and I actually pull up on a pipe that was right before it, and I caught my 5th fish. And then I ended up going down the riprap with 15 minutes left, and I culled another one. And I weighed in like 12.6 day 1, and I went from like 2 fish in the box at 130 to weighing like a solid bag, put me in 7th place for day 1.
Yeah.
And I've heard of guys doing that, you know, like smoking them in the last like hour, you know, or the last 30 minutes of a day and like putting together a bag. But that's never been me. I've always like, like I'll catch one like with 5 minutes to go, or I'm like, oh sweet, but it doesn't like, it's never a game changer for me.
Yeah.
This is the first time where it made the whole tournament.
Wow.
And so that's when I also keyed in on, okay, it's a late bite. It's an early deal, and then it's a late deal. But yeah, I know we're gonna like fast forward a bit.
No. It feels so good to like dial that in, especially after like the day 1.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So things click.
It gives you so much more confidence, like going into day 2.
So much more confidence, because I was like, I knew my tools, but I didn't know that this one crank was going to be my main tool. Like, I thought it was going to be a spinnerbait, because a majority of the size was coming off of a spinnerbait.
Was it a square bill? Probably.
Yeah, it was a balsa square bill.
Yeah. What color? I'm just kidding.
Bluegill.
Bluegill.
Yeah. And I actually caught them on a bunch of different colors, but they're all balsa, and they're all square bills. And it's something that we don't get to throw square bills too often. Like, at least, I mean, I don't know. I personally don't. I know like a lot of guys do.
No, you know this well enough.
Yeah.
We catch them on worms.
Yeah.
90% of the time. Yeah, so anytime there's a crankbait bite, we're on top of the world.
Yeah.
So that's why I like going. That's why, honestly, I know we kind of touched it earlier. We'll take a little detour really quick, but I've talked about this a lot, and like I've been to Gunnersville, I've been to Possum Kingdom in Texas, and going out there and having the confidence, and just because of how tough it is to catch 5 fish out here.
Yeah.
And I know it's tough out there too, but honestly, like the fish, the fish position a little bit more like reasonable, like where they kind of should be in a way. I feel like in those areas
set up like they're supposed to.
Exactly. That's what I'd say too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
because here they don't. You go to Castaic, and you're like, there should be bass here. Poof, and you're like, nothing. You're like, great.
Yeah, and then you throw a Senko and you catch fish.
And then you're like, boom, oh, there's one. You're like, oh, great, back to the Senko again.
No, but dude, that's why I feel like this next year going into. Okay, let's just go to day 2 really quick, and then I'll say I don't want to say that yet, but let's go to day 2.
Okay. So day 2, I ended up. I had a better game plan in my head. The caught more weight than me from day 1. So the guy that was paired with me smashed him on the co side
on day 1.
So so he was like top 5, I think, in the whole derb. And I'm like, oh man, like this guy's gonna whoop me from the back of my own boat, but whatever. And so I started doing my thing again. I got 3 fish like quick within an hour.
Yeah.
And that was just a huge confidence boost, whenever you can like help fill out a majority of your bag, especially when it's a tough bite. So that was a thing. So I had 3 fish. I caught my 4th fish and was like a kind of a dink. I picked apart this tree, and you guys can watch it on my video, the day 2. I picked apart the tree, and I showed it in the edit how many casts I did of this tree. Literally like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, like different angles and everything. He rolls through, 3-pounder. I'm like,
wow.
Are you serious? Pull up to the next tree. Tick, 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 tick. He flips in there, boom, with a 3-pounder. I'm like, bro, And I'm like, you feel better now? And he's like, I feel a lot better than 10 minutes ago because he had a fish in the boat. And I'm like, I was obviously like wasn't trying to backseat the guy. I want him to like have a shot at this thing too.
Yeah.
And so,
I'm gonna shout out my buddy Ryan Moriarty because he always talks about it's the angle of the dangle, bro. It doesn't matter if you're fishing right next to me or not. That's what he always says.
Dude, it's the
He's
thing,
like, come
man.
fish next to me, bro. It's the angle of the dangle, dude. Don't even worry about it.
Don't worry about it, bro. I just got the angle. That's classic.
Yeah.
No, but yeah. So it was tricky. I went on this stretch that day one, my code dumped a good one, and so I was like, all right, that keep me in like, all right, this area, and it was kind of similar to everything else that I had found that like there's certain key areas that these bigger fish were going to pull up on, and what I found is if it was on a bend, and you did have deep water access. And there was a lot of cover on the bend in the corner on the inside bends that there was going to be a fish there for the most part. And sure enough, that was a pretty consistent pattern too. So that was like a two-part pattern. So it was like the first one was like the weird do nothing strange stretch, the random stretch. And then there was the more obvious one. So sure enough,
you saw 3 fish at this moment.
I had 4 fish at this point,
okay.
But it wasn't like, it was like 8, I think it was like 8 pounds or something like that. And I still felt good about it. And I'm like, dude, 8 pounds is still like respectable right now. Like the average like bag was 7 pounds, 7, 8 pounds.
Yeah.
And I flipped in and I stuck a 4 on a jig. And I was like, that was her. Like as soon as she hit, I was like, oh my God, it's her. Oh my God, it's her. Oh my God. And like flipped it in the boat. He's like, bro, that's a 5-pounder. And I'm like, oh, we're all big eyeing fish because we're like used to seeing like a pounder.
For sure.
You know? Like,
yeah.
so
no, I was watching the weights the whole time you were out there, and I was like, man, I don't know why, dude. When I was watching, I was like, I have this feeling, dude, like he's gonna win. Like I literally had that feeling because it's like we're so used to like this really tough environment, like catching 5 fish in general.
Yeah.
So like when you go out there and like everyone's struggling and like you almost feel like kind of in your element, right? I mean, like it's kind of a normal day at the office. Like
no, I prefer when it's hard.
Yeah.
If everyone's sacking them, like I get all weird and insecure. I'm like, oh
like
man,
Clear Lake,
like
like when we all go to Clear Lake together, it's like, oh, there's like 20-pound bags.
Yeah. You're like, great. Like seriously, like the Cal Open, I went up there. I think we weighed like 21 day one, and I was like sitting in like 20th place. I was like, bro, what? Are you serious? Like that's like my second or third biggest bag I've ever weighed in during a tournament. Where we're like sitting in 20th something place. Like, bro, get away.
like, bro, if you don't have 30, like, just don't even smile.
Yeah, just dump it back in, bro. You might as well just go home. But so day 2, I stuck that last fish.
Yeah.
I went back to that same riprap stretch. I ended up culling up another one.
Nice.
And so I ended up weighing like 11. I think it was like 11.4 or something.
Yeah, and then after day 2, you were in what?
Day 2, that
were
rose
you
me
leading?
up. No, I was. So day 1, the guy that he's been to 2 classics. He's qualified for the nationals 6 times. He's like just a stick, and he's won. He's qualified for the classic on the Ouachita. He's parked next to me in the parking lot. And like that's how he introduces himself. Like he's like, oh yeah, he's like, oh yeah, my name's Kobe. I'm like, good to meet you, Kobe. He's like, yeah, I've fished a classic, twice. And I'm like, wait, what? He's like, yeah, I've been here 6 times. I'm like, what? I'm like, dude, you're gonna smash him. This fool, day 1 comes in 19 pounds, bro.
I remember that.
And I was like, I remember looking at Mark. He's like, yeah, it's my buddy, because they're both from Alabama. So he's like, my buddy, and I'm like,
wow.
Dude, your buddy's gonna lay waste to this whole derb. If he just came in with 19 pounds day 1, bro, I'm screwed.
Yeah.
And so, day 2, he only would. I watched him kind of run around, like when you see someone that's kind of spinning, you can tell. And I was like, oh, I seen Kobe again. Oh, that's kind of weird. He weighed 4 something.
Oh,
day 2, and so I went from 7th place and rose up to 2nd.
Yeah.
And so going into the final day, I was 8 ounces below Kobe. And since I was in a similar position on Havasu, but I was leading it, I was like, I'm so happy that I'm in 2nd place, not leading it going into the last day.
Yeah.
But my because the weather changed, my approach changed as well. So I was kind of slowing down in certain areas and picking apart certain things. But I knew like on the last day that my window in the morning was going to be condensed even more because it was post frontal and like not a lot of wind. The morning had a little bit of wind, but the clouds were going to burn off like by 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
And so I made a move. I stopped there and practice and fished in practice, but I made a move and I went south instead of going north for my first spot. And the top 14 guys fished. My second, my day 2 non-boater ends up qualifying to fish the last day as well. And we all head out. My first place that I roll up to, I think it was my second or my third cast, I stick a 3.5 pounder. And it was on a different color crank, but it was like the same style of crank.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, that's a start. Like,
yeah,
that's a good start.
Yeah.
Keep my head in it. Boom, like move. And I was like, I need to cover water. Boom. I caught another one that was like just a squeaker, like cover water. Camera boat hits me up. Hey, where you at, man? Like I need to get coverage. And I'm like, no problem. Like share my location. He rolls up on me. I'm like talking to him a little bit and fishing. I'm like, you want to see a 3? He's like, yeah. And so I hold up my 3 pounder. I'm like gripping the thing for its life. I'm like, don't get away.
Yeah.
Put it in the box. Like, I'm going to go run to the spot. He's like, all right, dude, I'm going to go catch up with other guys. Good luck. I'm like, thanks, dude. I roll into a spot that I had caught him in practice, but I made a spot. I made a stop every day during the tournament, and I didn't get anything. I also knew that the final day that the Arizona guy was going to start there because I saw them there day 1.
Yeah.
And I had a feeling he was going to want to start there.
You're by yourself on this day, right?
Yeah.
On your boat. Yeah.
And so I rolled into this spot. I let it all like get all crazy. Like everyone like wailed on it on the first like hour, I'm sure. And then 10:30 rolled around and I roll into the spot and I throw up there with the spinner bait. It clears the tree. I give it one little pump of the rod and I get smoked by a 3.5 pounder.
Oh my gosh.
And so I'm like, oh my god. And like, so I'm like, hey, I got 2 3.5 pounders. Like I got another dink. Like, let me just keep going. Catch my 4th fish. And then I run up and fish new water because I'm like, okay, I just need to keep covering water, fish new water.
Yeah.
And it was weird. I was having like weird intuition things. Like I pulled in on this bend and I was like, oh, it feels good here. But I look up, like somebody told me like, just look up. And I looked up and 150, 200 yards away, I see a stretch that I passed like twice during practice, but I never really acknowledged it.
Yeah.
And it was just like the stuff that I had found. And I was like, oh my God, like I got chills and I'm like, I got to go. Like put my stuff away, boom, shot up to that stretch, started working down the stretch, clear this tiny little stump. So like they were also keying in, if you get the stumps that are just under the water, like if they're out, like there's a small chance they would be there. But if the stump was just under the water by like 2 inches, like there was a higher percentage that they were going to be keyed up on there. And especially if there's a group of stumps, like if it was like 2 of them and then nothing, or like 2 or 3 little stumps. And I cast over the stump and I get smoked by another 3 pounder. It gets wrapped up in the stump. It comes off the stump. And I check to see if it has the hook good and I swing it in the boat. And that's when I knew. I was like, oh my God, I think I have a chance. That was.
And was that your last fish, or that was your fish?
I caught one more. I flipped up another spot.
Yeah.
That called out my first little baby squeaker that I had.
Yeah.
But then I just like, I need to get back to the round. Like,
yeah.
I had an hour and a half left.
So you had like 14 pounds or 15 pounds?
No. Another 12.
Another 12. Okay, so let's just go from that moment to let's go to the stage, and you're on stage and you're just like, I got another good bag for sure. So I wasn't able to watch it live, unfortunately. But
okay.
How did that moment go? Let's just go right to the moment. Like when you're up there, I'm sure they had you up there with the second place guy or whatever.
Yeah, it was funny because when gets milled down to so few guys. Everyone kind of is like curious on how everyone's doing on the last day. Sure thing, and like, oh, how many inches you got? Like, oh, I got like something, like, you know. And so like I'm like starting to like pick brains while we're waiting for guys to get out, and I'm like, okay, I got you. All right, I got you. And like this other dude that had an old Ranger, there was like two of us that had old Rangers. It was like me and then another guy from Arkansas, and he goes. Like when he stops in to check on me throughout the day, and I was like, I got 4 fish. He's like, dude, I only got 1, and I'm like, oh, dude, like, hey, you still got time? You'll go get them. And like, dude, he comes in, and I'm like, hey, did you fill out your limit? He's like, yeah, man. And I'm like, oh, dude, good job, man. Like, just being stoked for him. He's like, I sacked him, and I'm like, sick. And he was like sitting literally like one spot underneath me. I'm like, how much you get? He's like, oh, like 13 pounds. I'm like, oh, you sacked him. Like, and like right there, I just knew. I was like, well, he won.
Yeah.
Because I went up to Kobe, who's winning it, you know, and I was like, yo, dude, like, how much you got? And he's like, 18 pounds. And I'm like, what? And he goes, nah, I'm just playing. I got like 6 pounds. I was like, oh my God, you jerk.
Oh my gosh, dude.
I'll never forget that. And he starts laughing. He's like, I told him how much I had. He's like, good job. I'm like, and so in my head, this other guy, Chris Johnson, I thought he won because while we're sitting waiting to get weighed in, he's like, yeah, I got 13 pounds. Like
Chris Johnson's a pro, right?
Yeah.
Like the Chris Johnson, like that. Maybe not.
Maybe not.
It's all right.
No, he's not one of the Johnson brothers from Canada.
Okay.
It's another guy.
Okay.
And so it was actually the moment before I got to the stage where, and it's funny because I'm editing it right now. It's the final day, and there's a couple of my fellow anglers came up to me and they're like, dude, like, how much do you have? And I'm like, I probably have like 11 pounds at least. He's like, dude, I think you have it. And I'm like, nah, man, the guy with the old Ranger, like, he said he had 13 pounds. And they're like, yeah, he just weighed 10. And I'm like, no. The guy with the old Ranger said he had 13 pounds. They're like, yeah, he just weighed 10. I'm like, no, guys, you're not hearing what I'm saying. Like, I didn't want to believe it.
Yeah, for sure.
And I had to say, I repeated myself another time. Like I'm like listening to myself in my edit, and I'm like, I really didn't believe them at all. And they're like, dude, he weighed 10.3. And they're like, yo, you all right? It looks like you're about to pass out. Like, can you hear the Arizona guy say that?
Dude, that is crazy.
And that's when I knew, like, oh my God, I think I won this thing. And,
so they weigh your bag.
Yeah, so they weigh my bag. I kick off Taylor Smith, who was the guy who beat me in Havasu.
Okay.
So that felt really good because the whole time he was talking smack on me. Like, he's like, so what, when are you going to win a boat? And I'm like, oh man, I'm trying, dude. So he's a good guy. We're been buddies since Havasu. And so he's like, good job. You said you wanted to beat me. And I'm like, dude, it feels good. And then Kobe comes up and he weighs 6 pounds. And the rest is just kind of like, I black out, man. It's in my most recent life, like in the past like 10 years of my life, that is probably the most euphoric moment that I've ever experienced. And I've surfed Waimea, I've surfed like some big stuff, I've gotten super barreled, I've also gotten super pounded, I've like worked like huge like photo campaigns internationally. I've done a lot of things that I feel good about, but it was never something that I felt like it was like for me. And I never felt like it was something that was like a huge accomplishment for myself. And so in that moment, it was like everything compounded, and it was like a really emotional time.
I don't even really know like exactly what to say after that, but like, bro, like honestly, like when I saw like that you actually won, and I was just like, oh my gosh, dude, like he literally just won. And now, like I said, for me, I don't know what it was, but like when I saw your bio change to Bassmaster Elite Series Pro, I was like, I didn't really know you like too well or anything, but I was just like, I felt for you, bro. I was like, dude, that is so sick to like officially put that in your bio and to just like have that as like a legitimacy, like as an angler, dude. Like there's thousands and thousands and thousands of anglers that would dream of that moment, and you literally are able to do it. And now going into 2022, you have that trophy in the background. You create content, which is a huge plus in this time and industry.
Yeah.
And now you're able to take all of it and pursue a passion and travel the country. And I'm sure you've had just a little bit of a maybe stressful time putting everything together to get finances and stuff in order. But at the
Oh
same
yeah.
time, like, dude, like, it's a blessing, bro.
No,
Like
it's a
a
huge blessing,
huge
dude.
blessing. Like when you posted your boat picture, I was like, my jaw hit the floor again. And then you're posting like all these things that you're getting, and like, dude,
It's crazy.
dude, honestly, congratulations, bro. Like seriously,
Thank
like
you,
that is
man.
like, dude, you
Thank you.
have ABA plaques behind you.
Yeah.
And for guys like me that are just like kind of, following in that footstep of like a California angler, has the ABA out here, doesn't really have a whole lot of
I hang my third places, bro.
yeah.
I know there's
I
guys they're like, oh, that's firewood. I'm like, dude, that's still an accomplishment.
yeah, for sure.
For anyone who fishes ABA, anyone that fishes PBT, anyone that fishes any series,
Yeah.
it's accomplishment when you do well and you get rewarded for it, whether it's a plaque, whether it's a check, anything. And I don't want that to ever be downplayed,
Yeah.
because those are such important, vital stepping stones for us as an angler, and it's also shows me my roots. It also
Yeah.
shows me like what was my stepping stone to get to where I am now,
Yeah.
and the route that I took. And it's I do understand, and I am extremely, extremely grateful and super, super blessed. And because I know, like you said, like thousands of guys would love to be in my position right now, and I don't take it for granted one bit. Um, like you said, it has been really stressful.
Yeah, for
On
sure.
the flip side of the coin, given I have a month and a half to basically try and raise $100,000 just to break even next year.
Yeah.
I'm getting rid of my Ventura apartment. I leave on the 23rd of January, and I'm
Well, you're
well,
gonna you're gonna you're gonna win your first elite series, so there's your 100,000.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, just
I
throwing
just
that in there.
it's heavy because I don't have a family, I don't have a wife, and I see you, and I definitely, I want, there's always the flip side. You always want things that you don't have, right? And I see you
Yeah.
with your family, and it's like, that's so beautiful. And I think that's amazing. So congratulations on that. Like,
Thanks, bro.
that's badass. And,
Thanks.
but I also know right now, if I was in a similar position, that would be a way, way more difficult thing for me to do, because I know I would have to like uproot everyone to chase this dream.
Yeah.
And so the fact that I'm solo, I'm 33, I'm not too old,
Yep.
to just give something a shot. And I'm going for it, man. I'm literally, I'm going to be homeless, man. I'm leaving, like, I have this apartment's basically empty. I minus my tackle wall, all this is going last.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just,
Well, you already know, bro, like there's gonna be hundreds of thousands of people in California pulling for you next year. So just know that we're all gonna be rooting for you, bro. Like I can't wait to see you like literally on the Elite Series, like watching you like with a camera guy in your boat and stuff like that. It's gonna be crazy, dude. So
it's,
like I said, dude, just
thank you.
congratulations, bro. And I know that you're gonna give it everything you got. You're in a great spot in life, and I feel like it just all kind of fell in line for you, and now you're just gonna go for it, dude. And no matter what, I already know I can judge. I could, this is actually our first conversation, like face to face.
Yeah.
And I could just tell, bro, like everything is gonna work out because of the way how positive you are and how good of a dude you are too, man. It's just gonna line out for you. So
That means a lot.
I know we're kind of past like that hour mark, and my little one's actually coming at my feet a little bit. We got to put him to bed.
Like that.
Yeah, but dude, I think maybe let's try to circle back maybe after your first Elite Series. I'd love to have you back on the show and kind of talk about it a little bit. It'd be awesome to kind of recap maybe even each event that you do. It'd be super fun to kind of
Yeah, dude.
follow you this year, obviously. So
Whenever I'm free to do it, February is going to be a pretty hectic month for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a.
I'm just saying we'll definitely circle back at some point and
100%, bro.
look back on
You
this
kidding?
podcast. So let's set a 2022 goal for Matty Wong, bro. Let's just set it right now. What's your goal fishing the Elite Series? Let's do an like a over. We did this last year a little bit with some of my other buddies.
Yeah.
Let's do like an unrealistic goal, and
Yeah,
let's
yeah.
do like your realistic goal as well.
Okay.
I think I know your unrealistic goal is.
I want to win the Classic.
Exactly.
Hey, there's a 1 in 54 chance of me winning the Classic, and it was
That's
the
not
same
bad,
chance
bro.
of me fishing the Nationals. And so
Yeah.
as long as your line's in the water, there's a chance.
There's absolute chance.
There's a chance of me winning the Classic. I would love to win the Classic, and I'm going to shoot for it, because if you tell yourself that you can't do it, you won't do it. But if you tell yourself you can, you're giving yourself a chance. And like you said about like, you have to stay positive, and you have to be able to put positive things out, because the worst thing you can do for yourself is to speak negativity into your lungs. And so I'm a true believer in that. So I'm putting it out there.
Okay.
I want to win the Classic.
Yeah, you heard it here first.
And I want to, obviously I would love to win one of those blue trophies. I think, I never thought in a million freaking years, dude, that I'd ever get to even fish for one of those blue trophies.
Yeah.
And the fact that I get to do that blows my mind. But a realistic goal, I'd love to win Rookie of the Year. I'd love to, give a shot at the AOY title.
Are you fishing everyone?
Yeah.
Everyone? Yeah. Okay.
So every elite stop, I believe there's 9 of them. And then I'm also fishing 3 of the opens. I'm fishing the Southern Opens.
Sick.
So.
Well, Matty, do you go by Matt or Matty?
It's funny. I grew up going as Matt, and then so like my friends call me Matt Wong. One word, Matt Wong. And then when I got to like 18, 19, and I started playing music, like one of my neighbors who was like a lot older than me started calling me Matty Boy. And then one of my best friends heard him call me Matty, and he's like, "What?" And I'm like, "Don't start that." And then it stuck. And so whatever you're comfortable. I have friends that call me Marty because of Siri. But that's damn autocorrect. But it's whatever you want to call me, man. But I go as Matty. Yeah.
Well, I hope you keep your thumbs ripped this season, bro. That's important.
You
Rip
too,
your thumbs up.
Hell yeah.
There, and I really appreciate you coming on the show. If you guys are not following Mr. Matty Wong, make sure you guys can tell people where they can follow you at on your social media really quick.
Yeah, well, you can follow me on Instagram at Matty_Wong, MATTY_Wong, and also I'd appreciate it if you gave a little sub to my YouTube channel, Capture Fish. I also have an Instagram for it too, where I post content of fish and lures, and you'll always see just fish and lures on that main page, because the fish are the star at the end of the day. And then also. Sweet. Facebook, it's Matty Wong Fishing. I thank you so much for having me on, dude. It's been
man.
Actually, like, be able to like have a conversation with you in person.
Likewise.
Yeah, but it's good.
This won't be the last. We'll definitely have some more talks now for sure. So,
dude, 100%.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for listening to this episode. It's been great. Can't wait to circle back with Matty at the end of his season or in the middle of his season. We'll see how things go. Best of luck, buddy. And thank you guys all for listening. And as always, keep your thumbs ripped.
Yeah.
Why is it